Welcome back, viewers. And now that we've finally finished helping our friends repel the Death Force invasion, let's give these guys a hand. We'll be opening by helping Met in the pit, and this episode will focus on the Wing and Angel tribes. And the Wing Borgs are what you use when you want the power of flight, but without the hassle of Air Borgs. We're opening this battle with Wing Soldier, essentially the normal Borg of the tribe.
Fire!
Given that he generally plays like most other Borgs, just with the added power of flying, Wing Borgs are generally easy to get a hold of.
Do it! Next! Now! Shoot!
They also have a shared trick in the form of flight canceling. Basically, it works by using the Wing Borg's X attack, flight, and then canceling that with an attack, allowing you to quickly change direction while maintaining your flight speed. A skilled use of flight canceling can both make it easier to dodge attacks and make your attacks harder to dodge, as they can come from unexpected directions. Of course, even without flight canceling, the ability to simply leave the enemy's range of attack is a powerful one. Of course, some Borgs, like Wing Soldier here, have slow melee attacks, and as such are at a disadvantage if the enemy is able to close in. Fortunately, Met here is using his Arrow Ninja once again, and is being quite helpful at pinning the enemies in place for me to pick off. Now, the basic strategy with Wing Soldier is using his fast reloading arrows to flight cancel your way around, and basically just shower enemies with them. If you can get a good hit in, his melee attacks are a little more damaging than his arrows.
I'll be right there!
But against most Borgs, especially these claw robots, it's generally not worth it. Not unless you can guarantee a knockout. That spinning attack only happens if you attack an enemy from melee range while in the flight mode. Otherwise it goes to staff swings. Now, the spinning attack does a little more damage, but it also leaves you more vulnerable. And there goes Wing Soldier. And next up is Beam Wing Blue. Essentially the same as Wing Soldier. It just moves a little faster, and his projectiles are a little better with lasers. He also has the acceleration scope as a charge move. The acceleration scope is similar to the insect and power scopes, except this time projectiles that pass through it are made to move faster. And they also stack, so you can have projectiles moving faster than it can be seen. Beam Wing Blue's a little better than Wing Soldier, and his attacks are faster, he can move more quickly, and his acceleration scope does make his shots able to land a little more easily. Also, his flight melee attack doesn't leave him quite as vulnerable to attack as Wing Soldiers did. Of course, missing with a melee combo does leave you wide open, no matter what Borg you use it. Unfortunately, scopes stick around even after the Borg who made them is defeated. So the next Borg in the line can make use of them. Of course, your enemies can as well, so be careful. Next up is Beam Wing Red. Basically the same as Beam Wing Blue, although he replaces the acceleration scope for charge beam attack. It charges up faster than G-Reg G-Buster, and also does less damage. Of course, beams pretty much destroy scopes instantly, so if there's an annoying one around you want to get rid of, and you've got a beam, feel free to use it. So it looks like that's game.
All right, our forces have won.
Some prizes. Nothing too inspiring, but they're useful.
Hey!
Seems Met's not too grateful for the help. Well, at least he's safe, and that's what really matters.
Hey!
Next up will be Tatsuya in the Stone River.
No mercy!
Now this here is Death Borg Sigma. And while not technically a Wing or Angel Borg, they play the same, so it gets a spot. Thanks to flight canceling and Death Borg Sigma's fast reload time, this is easily one of the more powerful Borgs in the game, surprisingly enough. It's only about as tough as paper, though. So you do have to be really good at dodging attacks so you'll fold really quickly.
How dare you! Yeah!
Also, its melee attacks are worse than Wing Soldiers, so you'll definitely want to stay away from your enemies. Fortunately, flight canceling means you can do that easily. You see, I tried to go for a melee attack and got punished. Oh dear, those Gatling gunners don't look too friendly. Though I do want to get rid of these other Death Borg Sigmas, as they kind of negate my advantage with their flight. But next up is Wind Valkyrie. She's an Angel Borg, and Angel Borgs are basically Wing Borgs with special abilities. And Wind Valkyrie's here is that wind cone you just saw. Now, we've seen it used before, and as I said then, it's really not too useful on its own, given that it doesn't give you any sort of protection. It just kind of pushes the enemy around. It can be useful if you can coordinate with your ally to push an enemy into the range of an attack that's otherwise difficult to land. But unfortunately, Tatsuya's Musha Borgs can't really take advantage of that, even if I could effectively communicate with him. So really, I'm just going to make judicious use of flight canceling here. Both as a way to protect myself from Gatling gunners, and get some hits in. You see Wind Valkyrie spin lasts a bit longer than Wing Soldiers, and does a bit more damage. I thought I would be able to push the Borgs in the corner, but they were just too far away.
Let's do it!
Oh, and a Gatling gunner from behind takes out the Wind Valkyrie. Next up is Tornado Valkyrie, and her charge attack is a little more useful, given that when the tornado connects, it deals damage and flings the Borg up into the air. Oh, well, she didn't get to do much before getting beaten by Gatling gunner. She's replaced by Quick Valkyrie, and like the name suggests, her charge ability is to fire a red ball that makes any Borg that it hits move faster for a certain period of time. She's a little difficult to get a hold of, given that her haste ability is only really helpful if you have an ally that you can hit with it. And as you can see, hitting your allies is kind of difficult. Fortunately, hasting a Death Borg isn't too much of a death sentence. Had I hasted that Gatling gunner, I'd probably be seeing a different tune. Fortunately, even if I am having trouble giving Tatsuya a boost, flight canceling is able to keep me out of trouble, at least for now. Oh, thanks to a blindside by a Drow robot, I'm down to Ice Valkyrie. The Ice Valkyrie's pretty special. Her charge attack is that ice pillar that comes from the ground. Though if the Borg if the Borg targeted is on the ground when the ice pillar is formed, they're frozen in place. And also, Ice Valkyrie's bullets have a special property. The last bullets in her volleys will freeze the target they hit. Frozen Borgs are basically helpless. So it's a good way to tack on some damage. Also, even if you don't freeze the enemy, the Ice Pillar is a good way to get an enemy out of what would be an optimal position for them. Unfortunately, only the last bullets in Ice Valkyrie's volleys freeze, and the other ones just deal a bit of damage. Unfortunately, thanks to that freezing, I'm able to combo in a bit, though it leads to victory, even though the stun did give it a bit of reprieve.
Alright!
Yep. Another win. Oh, a Gatling Gunner crystal. It seems Tatsuya is a little more accepting of our help. Now we've got a new ally.
Oh!
Next up, we'll be helping Kitsune in the construction zone. And we're opening here with Deathborg Sigma 2, which is essentially Deathborg Sigma, although the addition of a Death Eye lets it fire 2 shots for the price of 1. The basic strategy is the same as Deathborg Sigma. Flight canceling makes it one of the more powerful Borgs in the game, especially with its extra shots and fast reload time. You can put out a lot of damage really quickly. Though, of course, you are still just as fragile, so you have to be extra careful. Even Deathborg Omegas are a threat. Fortunately, these ones with bullets aren't too much of a problem as long as I don't get blindsided. Or just caught recovering. Unfortunately, Omegas with lasers are a bit of a different story. Oh, luckily it didn't take that shot, as that would have been the end of Deathborg Sigma 2 right there. Unfortunately, these hammers are able to destroy projectiles, and as such, they've got a bit of a defense against my attacks. Fortunately, I can stay out of their range, as long as I don't get caught off guard. That one's almost down, but I saw the laser warp in, and it got me.
I'm not done yet.
And that'll be replaced by Ring Valkyrie. And a Ring Valkyrie's charge is to throw out a ring of shots. The ring will spread for pretty long range, and unfortunately, in the stage of the construction yard, I can't show the full potential of the rings, as the a variety of obstacles prevent them from spreading as far as they could. Also, Ring Valkyrie's basic shot is a single stream of projectiles. That's also somewhat slow to reload. Kind of difficult to get a handle on at first, but you pretty quickly get used to it. Now, if not for all these various obstacles on the way, those rings would be a great way of dealing damage, as connecting with one tends to bounce the enemy Borgs on the others. And as such, it's a good way to rack on damage, especially against larger Borgs that don't stun as easily. Though unfortunately, these hammer Omega Borgs have too much of a defense against me, and Ring Valkyrie goes down.
Nice.
Next up is the Mighty Blade Wing. Unfortunately, this is kind of the end of the battle, so he doesn't really get to show his stuff off. Yep, that's victory, and Blade Wing didn't really have to do much.
All right. Huh?
Oh, another new ally. It seems a new battle has appeared with a mysterious... Never mind.
I don't know.
Well, now we know where Nikobe got to.
You want pain, don't ya?
This is the final Valkyrie, the slow Valkyrie. And like the name suggests, she's the opposite of quick Valkyrie, in that her charge attack is a blue projectile. That slows any Borg that it hits. And while your projectiles still move at normal speed, being slowed makes all of your animations slower, as well as being slower to move around. And as such, it's almost impossible to connect with any melee attacks. And dodging attacks becomes much more difficult. Unfortunately, because you don't have to depend on your ally to get the most out of your charge attack, slow Valkyrie is a little easier to use than her sister quick Valkyrie. As you can see, the hammer still moved at normal speed, even after the Omega was slowed. Fortunately, once an enemy is slowed, you can really just do whatever you like. You do need to be careful not to slow your ally, as it can be quite dangerous. Of course, if you're slowed, the best option is really to just try and weather the storm, as launching a counterattack is quite difficult. Power Burst can mitigate the effects of slow somewhat.
Good.
No, it's really not advised to use it for that, as it's a bit of a waste. Yeah, unfortunately, this Hammer Knight is kind of a hassle to slow Valkyrie. Both its shield and hammer can block the projectile, and even if I do manage to slow it, its X attack, the hitbox on its X attack lingers longer, making it more difficult to get a good shot in. Still, given this is a 2-on-1 battle, even with those annoyances, it can't really do much. Slowing a Vampire Knight is always fun, especially because it doesn't impact their health drain, and as such it really just leaves them even worse off than they usually are. You see, even missing the spin, the Vampire Knight couldn't capitalize it while slowed. Now that Lil Valkyrie's gone, we finally come to the big boss of the Wing Borg tribe. This is Anubis Wing.
What can I do for you?
And yes, this is the generic form of Garuda. And in Power Burst mode, you can basically fill the screen with explosives. Yep, its charge attack is the same explosive shot that Garuda used, and the explosion is just as big. Anubis Wing here is easily one of the most powerful Borgs in the game. That explosive shot does a lot of damage, and it's hard to dodge because the explosion is so large. Fortunately, given the reduced damage for ally hits, even firing it around while Nakoba is there isn't too much of a worry. And while that Cyber Girl is able to knock me around a bit with the 4 shots, I really only have to connect once. And that's victory.
We showed them!
You guys are pathetic.
Oh, some neat prizes. I'll try out that iota later. Yay, I guess. That kind of sums it up to your head. Oh, this is one of the Death Force invasion battles where we get to choose our ally. And we'll let one of our new partners show their stuff. These here are technically Demon Borgs, though they play like Wing Borgs and so they get shown here. Demon Wing plays a little differently from most other Wing Borgs, as he cannot truly flight cancel. Manually canceling your flight does not let you move at the faster speed. Fortunately, that's not too much of a problem, as his creeping soul attack has some of the best tracking in the game. These things will crawl around obstacles, turn at right angles, sometimes even reverse direction in order to hit their target. They're not quite inescapable, but they're the closest thing to fire and forget weapons outside of destructive attacks in the game. They also do decent damage, although his Demon Scythe does a lot more, if you're willing to close in. Of course, given the excellent tracking on the Creeping Souls, you can really just fly around out of the enemy's reach and just pester them with him. I'd almost feel bad if I weren't fighting computers. And of course, when closing in, there's always the danger of getting bounced. You can see that claw robot took a good chunk off my hop. Oh, that's okay. Thanks for knocking me away, so I can set up. Like I said, I could just simply fly around firing creeping souls and everything. Although that's a little dull to watch, and given that the scythe does a lot more damage, it's often worth the risk of closing in to finish a battle quickly. Oh, that was a bad combo. Demon Wing is almost down for the count. Oh, there we go. And next up is Deathwing. And like Demon Wing, a Deathwing's flight, canceling it with an attack goes into that spin, even if there's nothing in range, as Deathwing technically has no ranged attacks. Unfortunately, he does have a pseudo one, in that every time he swings his scythe, a projectile scythe goes in the direction of your target. So while you do have to manually cancel your flight in order to make use of false flight canceling, Deathwing has the unique ability of attacking in 2 directions at once. This is in addition to his charge attack, which makes 3 sides appear around the target and fly towards them. This attack is kind of easy to dodge, but it's good at pestering enemies from range, or especially behind obstacles, where they think you can't get them. And the strategy with Deathwing is basically swinging that scythe as fast as you can, throw out as many projectile sides as you can. Given that Deathwing has no projectile meter, you can do it as often as you want and never have to worry about running out. Given that you have to manually cancel your flight, otherwise you'll do that spin, which isn't really useful even if you can hit something with it. Deathwing's a little harder to get a handle on than most other Wing Borgs, but still, he is one of the more powerful ones. I'm a little shook on the draw here, hitting the fire button before I cancel the flight.
Nice.
Fortunately, it looks like the enemy's down to their last Borg. The scythes are a little slow moving, but given the damage they do, it's more than enough to take your enemies down.
All right.
And that's victory. Thanks for watching.